So my random accent is a mix between my Spanish nationality and my Belfast living. So that's what you're hearing.
Well, why don't we start like right at the beginning? Could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you opened the Feminist Shop?
So I am, my name is Virginia, and I am Spanish. I study law and business because I was going to be a very serious worker. And I work in Deloitte, hated it. Price, hated it. Work in another company. And it was always the feeling of, yeah, I'm doing the right things that I should be doing, but it's not for me. And when I was pregnant with my first son, and I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl yet, I thought I just want to write a book for them to know, it doesn't matter if they're boys or girls. I'm just going to love them, and, I'm not going to limit them for their gender. I haven't always been a feminist, to be honest. I actually was one of those that refused to use the word.
Is that right?
Yeah. Sometimes I would love to talk with my old self and be like, guess what? You're going to love this. I don't know if we will get along, though, old me and me. Aww. But, it's the same. It's just that I've learned so much down the way. So by then I was very determined that, I was not let gender affect, and I was very comfortable with the word feminism and all. So I wrote this book. The book is called McEldowney, and it's a bilingual feminist book. And it's about two cousins, a boy and a girl, that don't understand why they're treated different. And they just talk about, what, he can do that and I cannot. And they start writing it in a notebook and learning from it. So it encourages kids to apply critical thinking. Just ask yourself, why? Because the truth is that they don't have that critical thinking. So it was more like a new topic book in which kids don't get it. Because the truth is that kids just learn what you tell them and they assume is normal. So probably it's more a book for parents when they're reading it and realize, why we do that? But I loved it. I loved the book. I loved the experience of promoting it. And I quit my job and I was like, okay, I'm going to focus in this. I'm going to focus in the book. But then in Christmas 2018, my husband and I were looking for feminist presents for everybody, because by then I was an angry feminist that didn't talk about anything else. And I was like, okay, I know people are expecting feminist presents, so feminist presents it is. And I realized that there was not a place, an obvious place or an obvious brand. Like there were like t-shirts here and things here, but there was not one place, and there was definitely not one brand that shouted about the values that I wanted to, some of the girl power and t-shirts like that end up being fabricated in factories, abusing, women for 10 cents, and that it's not what it should be about. So Chris, my husband, is an e-commerce geek. He's been working in e-commerce for 15 years. And he said, well, let's do it. Let's build it. And it was good because it started with the idea of, okay, well, let's make something small. But then I got very excited. So it's like, okay, but we have to have recommendations, and then we have to have books, and we have to have this. And I was just trying to get into a website, everything that helped me be where I am. Because I wasn't a feminist myself, and then I was uncomfortable a feminist. I mean, I was a feminist, but not comfortable maybe with the topic, with the what name. And then I grow and I was comfortable, but I wasn't maybe that confrontational. And, I think to me, it's been a journey. And I think everybody I know, it's in a journey. And it doesn't mean the end is the same for everybody, or we have, it's not a good way. And that's the goal. It's just that we are in different spaces and we're all different. And we have different speeds and different views. So I wanted to be a website that invited every kind of feminist. It doesn't matter, in which stage you are, just to fuel it. Okay, so learn more, listen more. What can I do? What can I learn? What can I see? So we have the books, and then we come with the branding. And and we have t-shirts with the F because we're under the spread the F word, but also slogans. And our slogans come in different styles because we believe that, you know, we can be saying the same thing but in a different way. So there's people that are maybe whisperers, there are people that are more bold, and it doesn't mean that we're not all in the same boat fighting for the same equality. And I love the idea of feminism uniting people rather than, you know, there's a lot of, you don't get to call your feminist if you don't, and I think that's not helping anybody because if somebody tells me now, well, you don't get to call yourself a feminist if, I'll be like, okay, whatever. But if it happened to me maybe 3 years ago, or well, not 3, maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe I would be like, well, then I'm not. And then maybe it would have stopped me from identifying as a feminist. And then the cause itself, we have lost somebody. And I think we need to start telling people that, you know, you get to be a feminist, it's fine. And it's something you should wear with honor and not with shame. And it doesn't mean we have to all agree in everything, because feminist is a lot of people figuring things out to have a better world in terms of equality. Yeah. And obviously we are people with different, you know, experiences and views, and it doesn't mean we're not rowing together for the same cause. And I think that's the main goal to me, the feeling of belonging, the feeling of identifying each other. So that's what we want to do. We want to, you know, help create that community, you know, feel give the content and give the space for talking, and give all the materials, and all our products are very ethically produced. So they're produced in a factory of renewable energy. The ink is vegan. They're certified fairware. So, you know, all the workers are paid fairly. There's no plastic in the delivery. It's print on demand and drop shipping. So it means that it goes directly from the printers to the final user. So we don't have to multiply the CO2 footprint. So we did a lot of research on how ethic we wanted our business to be, because we feel like as business we have that massive responsibility, especially in the fashion industry where it's really really damaging for the world. So
yes, I saw on Netflix, Hassan Minhaj has a show called The Patriot Act. I had zero idea of how damaging fast fashion is on the planet. I had no clue. And I saw that, and since then I have been so much more mindful about where and what I'm buying. It was incredible. I really didn't have any idea. You just said a whole bunch of things that are awesome. So I'm going to back up just a second.
I talk a lot. Sorry.
No, it's for everybody watching. I just want you to know that anything we bring up or talk about today, the links will be in the description. So the book she just mentioned, I'll have a link to that in the description, obviously, as well as to her shop and everything. I think it's so great that, first of all, that you made that journey. Because really, even if you're Emma Watson, for instance, you're probably still on a journey. Even if you feel, you know what I mean? Like, even if you think like I'm a feminist, there's always
more you can learn
someone else's experience. I also think it's fantastic that you are open-minded about what it means to be feminist, because I agree with you. There are too many people out there saying, you can't call yourself a feminist because you're not feminist enough. And if you are someone who maybe is slightly timid or shy, or like you just, or, you know, in your early journey, just figuring this stuff out, that is completely going to put you off. And you're going to think, well, why would I bother? Or why would I ever speak up about anything? And I also think it has a lot to do with who you are surrounded by. And in our early lives, we don't have much choice who surrounds us. And so I think that that's a big reason why, as women get older, or really anyone gets older and they start learning more about the word and choosing who they get to surround themselves with, that's a big influence. And so I love that your website is kind of a beacon for people who want to express feminism, who want to be feminist, learn more about it. Because once you find, like you said, once you find more people, it gets so much easier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
And I think we fuel each other so much. Sometimes I'm like, oh, when am I even doing this? Like, oh, I see I'm going to take off. And then I have a friend of mine or somebody just texting me and saying, I had the best conversation ever about feminism, and I said this and this, and I convinced the person, and they agree, and you know, thanks. I couldn't believe I didn't see that before, but after our conversation, that seems so clear, and it matters. That's how we're gonna change the world, one conversation at a time, one person's mind at a time, because it's a domino effect. Like, because whenever my biggest feeling with feminism is that you cannot unsee things. Once, the same way with fast fashion, once you are aware, you cannot be unaware anymore. You cannot say like, well, now that I know all these, I choose not to care, because you care. It's so important not to care. So I think that's how we do it. We just make people see, you know, even small things, and then put them in front of the conversations and in front of the information, and just let that, you know, be part of them, and then they'll change somebody else's mind. Because we all want, I truly believe that humanity is good, and we all want a better world. It's just that sometimes we are so focused in our own small world, and the information we're given that we don't see anymore. And diversity is key. Like, I know how much I've learned from, you know, having friends different from me, and I know quite a lot about feminism now, and yet I learn things every single day. And I learn about Afrofeminists, and I learn about intersectionality, and about single moms struggling, and about class privilege, and all that is fascinating, because whenever you're just with the same people, watching the same programs, reading the same kind of books, you know, you're just going to learn so much.
Yes, absolutely. What do you think right now in our world is the biggest obstacle personally to people when it comes to equality? And when I say that, I don't mean, obviously we have huge obstacles, like for instance, in the United States, the Equal Rights Amendment has never actually been ratified. What? But like in a person's life, what do you think is an obstacle that keeps people from seeing those differences or wanting to be a feminist?
Well, I think to me it all comes back to what we tell kids. I think the real difficulties is that we're not building feminist kids. We are letting them know, and we're repeating them until it becomes true that they're different. And then it follows them, and it waits them all their life. And it's very difficult to unlearn. I think I'm finding that unlearning things is much more difficult than learning things. So the process of, oh, I didn't know that and now I know it, is quite easy at any stage. But the process of, oh, wow, I thought that was the truth, and I've learned that it's not, and I just need to rebuild it. And because we're so structured under the gender definitions, and it's everywhere, it's clothes, it's books, it's TV shows, it's adverts, it's the media, it's the way we talk to each other, it's the jokes, it's the lack of female representation in school books, it's the lack of role models, it's the way, you know, it's, if it was one thing that we could address, it would be difficult, but it would be doable. But the problem is that you need to go to the roots and just, you know, shake it from the beginning, because it's everywhere. I mean, I find very difficult now watching films. I'll be like, there you go. Chris is hating watching TV with me lately. There you go. Funny, eh? No more women's. Oh, wow. And another male engineer. Surprise. There you go. All your white male representation of power. Surprising, eh?
So true.
And it's just so everywhere that it has so much impact. So I think it has to be like that's why it needs to be a process, because you find yourself like I find myself a lot of times being like, wow, I thought that. Somebody was telling me the other day, oh, I had a problem with the principal, and I said, oh, why didn't you write to him? And she said, like, it's a her. I'm like, why did I say him? I was like, wow, how obvious. And I am quite, I mean, I own the Feminist Shop. I am literally obsessed with feminists, and boom, can't help it.
Right. It's like you said, it's hard to unlearn something, and those assumptions are, they're so small, but they make a big difference.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is interesting about my children's generation, my generation had it some, but my children, they're teenagers. I was talking with my doctor one day, who is also a woman and a feminist, and one of the things she said was, "You've got to remember when I was." That's okay. When I was growing up, she said, "You never thought of a principal being a woman, or a doctor being a woman, or a judge being a woman." And my children, that's just an assumption. When Hillary Clinton didn't win the election in 2016, I was devastated. And it broke my heart to tell my young daughter that I was so looking forward to the two of us experiencing the first female president in the United States. And when that didn't happen, it broke my heart. But when I said something to her, she just kind of looked at me like, what's the big deal? Because to her, that's not a milestone. She expects the next president to be a female any day now, because in her world, that's not an obstacle. Yeah. So I think there is hope.
Oh, no.
Roll along, but it's funny how those sneaky little assumptions, and sometimes when you point them out to people, they're just so surprised, like, oh, I never looked at it that way.
I think most of it is. I really think Patrick is not just 10 men in a room drinking whiskey and saying, we're going to ruin the world for all the women because we're superior. I think it's much more subtle. It's like it's a culture that is so embedded and so rooted in everything that it's very difficult to change, because, it has a lot of different arms. And people get very defensive. I mean, a lot of the time, we spend just patting. I find that I spend patting men's ego. No, we don't hate you. No, you're fine. No, not all men. And it's a lot of time and a lot of energy. Like, look, I mean, and I'm okay because it's my job and I like it. But I can see how it is exhausting. Like, look, seriously, we cannot spend all the conversation, all the time talking about how this is good for you, how this is, how we need you to be on board, how it's not insulting, because this is not what it is about.
Right.
And it's about, and it is good for them, and they get a lot out of it. And we have a section specifically for the role of men in feminism, and we talk about mental health in men and tools, and but it isn't. There's a lot of time that is dedicated to those kind of things. And it's like, we need to be having, so many conversations about so many things. But I do believe that there's a lot of hope. The new generations are so inspiring to me, so inspiring. I am hopeful about them. And there's a lot of women, very young women leaders that surprised me. Malala, Greta, I always forget the name. What's the name of the shaved head girl that talk about guns?
Oh, I don't know.
It's American. What's her name?
Oh, the girl from Florida.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know her name.
And she made me cry, as in, you know what? That's what we need. We need all those voices with all their different personalities, but they are hope, and the way they see things so clearly, and they're not gonna stop. It is really helpful.
Yes, it's a tricky, like you said, spending all this time making sure that men, especially white men, feel okay, does take a lot of energy away from the actual purpose.
Changing the things.
Yes, exactly. And I wonder, a lot of that probably just has to do with, again, the culture and the unlearning, because if their ego or their confidence or self-esteem has been built entirely upon their privilege and their entitlement, you know, that they have been held up or puffed up or whatever, when that part gets stripped away, possibly this is where all the anger is coming from certain people, you know, a group of them, that then they think, well, what else do I have? You know, they haven't had to look inside or to depend on themselves like women, or to cheer themselves on like women have had to. So they don't have kind of that foundation once you strip away the privilege and the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the networks, for example, that women can create are much stronger. The connections and all those kind of things, and the possibilities to talk. I mean, we take away so much from boys because we don't want them to be anything like a woman. So because everything that is related with female is wrong. Don't be a girl, don't cry like a girl, don't do this, that's, you know. And we force them to be something that is not okay. And the truth is that we are the main victims of patriarchy, but so they are. But the problem is that it's all about them. I mean, Chris is the co-founder of the website. He is the person that forced me to realize that I was a feminist. Like, Virginia, of course you are a feminist. I mean, he was calling himself feminist before I was. And yet sometimes we talk about something and it takes him 5 minutes always to just be like, oh yeah, fair enough. And he's like, exhausting, Chris, exhausting. No, can't you just not agree straight away with what I say? And sometimes he does it when I'm in bed and I just make a comment and he's like, it's 10:30 or it's 11. And then he's like, well, yeah, but what about him? And it's like, Chris, not now. Because now we're going to have a 2 hours conversation and the kids are going to wake up at 6, but otherwise I won't be able to sleep. And we have to talk it through. But it's like, why? And then this and this. And then he always say, oh yeah, I guess you're right. It's like, why don't you, can't you, oh, this time you, come on, Virginia, this time you went a bit too far. No, never too far.
That's so funny. I used to write for CBR.com, which is comicbookresource.com. And one of the articles I wrote, I was one of the very few female staff members at the time. And one of the articles I wrote, they had all these lists of male characters who had slept with other female comic book characters. And they said, what about a list of who, you know, Wonder Woman has been romantically involved with? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'm on it. And so I wrote my list, I wrote my article, and I put it out there. And my husband, who I would say, yes, he's a feminist. And my brother, who, oh my gosh, yes, is a feminist. Both of them separately, without knowing the other one said anything to me, both said to me, like, I don't know about that list you wrote. And I said, what are you talking about? They were like, that kind of went a little too far. I mean, you said that like sometimes she has a fight and then she has sex to blow off steam. I mean, that's a little bit much. And I was like, no. If that had been Batman or The Flash or, you know, Tony Stark, you wouldn't have said anything. Like, so, I know. So you still have to sometimes point that out to them, like, oh, but it's so ingrained. That's not how
and it's and that's the problem. Like, those are the good ones. Those are the ones those are like the good ones, the ones that care, the ones that inform themselves. So on top of that, you get all the others that feel threatened.
Yeah.
It's like, it's because I hope better. It's because I expect better from men that I am a feminist. Because I think you can be better. Because I don't think that's a given. I think there's a better world for all of us. And that is the opposite of hate men. It's loving men so much that you want them to be at their best version, which involves, you know, equality.
Mm-hmm. What do you do with your own children to break down kind of those assumptions?
Well, I am like, I just give them all the choices. My kids are not very aware of gender just yet, which is
That is
great.
such a beautiful time. Yeah, that's a great time.
But most of the kids their age are. While with Eric's age, well, Eric doesn't. Eric's favorite color is pink because my hair is pink. So since I dyed like over a year ago, he thinks it's our thing. So it's mommy's favorite color is pink and Eric's favorite color is pink, and he loves things that are described as boyish, and he loves a lot of things that are described as girlish, but they don't know that. So sometimes they're playing with other kids and somebody will mention it or somebody will, but they are just so oblivious to it. Eric always, we get a lot of hand-me-downs clothes, and he was given, and Nora gets so much dresses and pink things, and Eric always opens them like, can I wear this? And I'm like, look, Eric, it's just you're too big, you won't fit. But the other day he found a dress that he fits, and he was like, he tried it on and he was like, but I fit, can I wear it? And I was like, of course you can. And he was so happy.
Yeah.
And I would never, or if we're in groups of thoughts, and sometimes he wants to dress up as Shrek, and sometimes he wants to dress as a princess, and sometimes as Superman. And I am okay with each choice. And I would never look at him funny or try to discreetly encourage him to do something, because I think, I mean, what's not to love about sparkling things, especially when you're 3.5? I mean, how can I explain to him that something soft and sparkly and fun is not for him because he's a boy?
Yeah.
And the same with Nora. Nora is very like a climber and very rough, and I just try to not call her pretty all the time, and, you know, just try to focus in. It's so easy to tell her, oh, you look so beautiful with that dress.
Right.
So just try to also say, like, I love how you're so brave, or aren't you smart? And just, I policy a bit what they read, what they watch. And if there's very stereotype, I just don't let them watch it, and try to just put them in front of things that I think they're more useful now that they're developing their idea of the world. And to me, it's just about, because I'm very aware, unconsciously, I see things and then I bite my tongue, and I find I'm probably doing a lot of wrong things too. But the ones that I know, the ones that by my gut tell me like, I just try my best to avoid them, because I think this is a great time to start building those foundations.
It is.
And I'm writing my second book of McEldowney, and it's about consent for kids.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's written, it's just need to be translated and all the designs. And that's something we practice a lot in this house. So, you know, no means no, and respecting boundaries and physical boundaries, and as adults and as kids, and, you know, even in the small things, because that matters, and that builds up who they're going to be, and the whole idea around what consent is. And it's not just don't rape. Nobody, you know, people that go and rape is just people that obviously don't understand consent, and they're, you know, it's the entitlement and it's all that. So we just feel very responsible of our kids, and to be honest,
I love
mostly.
You know, it's funny. This is an area. Here we go. So I was in my 40s. Always been a feminist. Thought I had it down. Thought I knew what I was talking about. And I went to hear an author.
Don't we all?
And I apologize, I can't remember her name. I will look it up and I will put it in the description. But her book was Girls and Sex. Have you read that?
Yeah, I have it in the stock. I have it in the show.
And so I went to hear her speak at a local college. A friend of mine invited me, and she blew my mind. I thought, I thought I had a handle on everything. And then I heard her speak and thought, whoa, I have a lot of rethinking to do. I have a lot to do with my children to make sure they don't grow up with these assumptions that I didn't even know I had until she pointed them out. It was wild.
But I get that all the time. That's the funny thing. Like you're like, yeah, I know I have this thing, and then you read something and say, wow, that, like, it was always there. And until somebody says, like, have you seen this? And you're like, because it's part of who we are. We don't spot those things, and sometimes until somebody tells us. But isn't it the beauty that then you cannot unsee it, and it does have a massive effect on who you become?
Yes, because now that is the filter I use when I see situations on TV or movies, or when I'm having conversations. Is now everything is seen through that lens. Like, oh no. For instance, I recently watched part of Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, which came out when I was a teenager. I loved it. I love Bill Murray. He's hilarious. In the one scene, he has, he's had the perfect day with Andie MacDowell, and he asks her up to his room, and he starts putting moves on her. And for the next, I'm going to say 5 to 10 minutes, she spends that time fighting him off or saying no or coming up with excuses while he's, trying to put the moves on her. And I thought, when I saw that as a teenager, I saw nothing wrong with that scene at all. Like, yeah, that's how it is.
That's how it is.
Right. That's how some men are. And she didn't want to. So, and she can't just flat out say, no, get the F off me. She has to make up all these excuses and be polite and all. And now when I saw it, I was like, oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
No. What are you doing? She said no once. Back off. So you're right. You can't unsee it. You have a blog post right now about these website OMGYES. Is that what it's called?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, that's exactly what it's called.
And that's one of the areas I totally agree with you, that we don't talk enough about women and sexuality. I mean, it's sometimes talked about, but I don't think in such a frank and bold way. For instance, you said, why aren't we talking about our vulvas more? Why? Why is this such a big deal? I mean, do we not hear about penises like 20
all the time
from wherever, your own husband, teenage boys, the TV? I mean, penises are talked about all the time, yet vulvas are like this this taboo subject. Did you sign up for a subscription? Can you tell us a little bit about that website?
Yeah, so it is an amazing website. It is, I think it's something like £39. I don't know what's that in dollars, for a season. And the season is like a one-off subscription that grants you access for life. And all the money goes to support the team and further investigation. So they're doing one in pleasure after trauma, pleasure in menopause, pleasure in trans people. So they're investigating things that needs investigated and needs to be spoken about. But these first 2-3 seasons, I think, well, the third season is going to be about toys, but I haven't seen it yet. It's about female pleasure. So it is shocking the first time because you don't really know what you're going to find. And it's based on 20,000 interviews. Oh, wow. Doing from women from 18 to 95 years old. It's a lot of experience there. So you get in and there's a video of a woman saying what she likes very openly, and just you're talking about sex, or you're laughing a bit, or you're smiling, and you're like, I mean, it's pleasant, and it's, yeah, well, I had the best orgasm with my blah, 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 and I remember why, and this is how I like, and this is how I don't. And then they give you a lot of data. So 96% of women like this, and this is our example of how it's done. And there are different variations of this technique. And then there's other videos of them doing it on themselves. So it's like a video of a woman masturbating while she talks to you. So like, I like from up to down, and then I just do this, and then I don't like this, and then I stop, and they just use their own vulva to explain how they like it. Okay. And I am Spanish people are super open-minded with sex, especially, well, I'm going to say from Madrid. Right. From Madrid, like, we talk about sex, no problem. Chris was freaking out whenever he first came to Spain, like, too much information.
Is he Irish?
yeah, he's from here, which they're the opposite to very open. They're really, really not open about sex. So to him, it was a bit of a cultural shock. Like, I will make sexual jokes with my parents, no problem.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, and he just get caught uncomfortable. I was like, but anyway, I was just there, and I was like, I'm having feelings of discomfort with this.
Interesting.
And I'm, like, wow, I don't think that looks like mine. Do I even know how mine looks like? I mean, I've never, I was like, I cannot. Is that crazy? Is that how mine looks like? I was like, no, not really. It's like, oh, very good. Very good. Okay. Like, I couldn't do that. I don't have all that. Where's all that? So I just thought it was shocking, because you can't help it. You feel even more uncomfortable with some part of your own body that I would feel seeing, like, any penis, because I've seen 10,000 in TV and everywhere, and they're all,
Yep.
So yeah, you see it. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it takes 1 second, and then I think it's part of the learning. Like, hell yes, woman. Thanks for doing that. And then they invite you to try it on, and they give you some tips on what works and what doesn't. And there is even like an interactive video for those who don't have a vulva, don't want to try, so you can just masturbate the screen. I haven't tried that.
Where was that?
Because I have one.
30 years ago. That's what I want to know. Where was it 30 years ago when I could figure out how to have my own orgasm? Let alone tell somebody else how to do it. It's just a long time for me to figure it out.
It's, to me it did, but I remember very clearly telling my sister, Irene, I've just found out that if you put the shower tub here, it's really fun. And every time I think, like, I would never tell her about this. Like, but I have that very clear memory, like, finding out and be like, I need to share this. This is class. I mean, I hope she knows that, because it's really cool. And I was like, maybe I wouldn't talk about that anymore. But yeah, so it's just, it was just very good, because then we would try it. And it was very pressure-free. So, like, let's try this. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't work, that's completely fine. Yeah. And then it was good. Like, I guess I like that after all. I would never have said that. Yeah. And it was great, because it's getting to make me know my body better. And it's that time where it's not a time where it's like, okay, it's porn, let's watch porn. It's more like, oh, let's discover something. But even Chris is fascinating about the different ways to give pleasure to women. Like, I can't believe orgasms can be so different. And you women seem to be more sensitive, because you're trying to something and it's like, why can't you just move one little bit? And they say, it's like, what happened? Right. So it's just it's just amazing how little we know, and how not prompt to experiment or to talk about it in a healthy, positive way. And so I just loved it. I really loved it. And I think some people need it more than others, because they don't even have the friends to talk about it, or the situation around that is welcoming to explore. So this feels like you have a whole community and friends just guiding you through without no judgment.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. You also have a section on your website called Take Action. What are some simple, not necessarily easy, but simple ways that people can take action if they feel, like they want to promote feminism, but maybe they're not sure where to start?
To be honest, I really want to work more in that page. We have one of the things we're thinking of doing, and we're talking with the people in change.org, is having petitions so people can sign, because that's one of the things that seems very small, and it takes literally 2 minutes and it makes an impact. Like, it adds up, and it even morally you feel like, by myself, maybe it didn't mean much, but look at us. Now we're 500,000, and we're, Caroline Criado Perez, I don't know, you probably know her. She's just the best. She wrote a book called Invisible Women, which is the book.
Yes, yes.
She's, I mean, amazing. And she sent a newsletter every whenever, to be honest. But one of the things she has is templates to write to your MP. So if they receive a lot of letters, they're more prompt to do something. Using, just start introducing very small changes, even in the house. As in, I do in my Instagram page, I do challenges called Purple Lens Challenges, which is just the small things. Like, have you realized the kind of books that you're reading? Or just analyze these, or have you checked this? Just trying to spot things that are very small, but hopefully once you're aware, you see them. Obviously, it's all the volunteering, activism, going to demonstrations, volunteering groups. I'm quite active in the homeless period. So things like that. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's time, sometimes it's just sharing and spreading the word. Obviously, I believe a lot in being a responsible market agent. I'm very careful now on where I buy, and I try to support female-owned or small businesses or ethical business and things that are aligned with my feminist values. And just to start a conversation, sometimes it's just talking about it and having the initiative to read more about it and getting informed and let that, become who you are. And then, because you will change, and obviously the more you know, the more you will be wanting to share that knowledge with other people, and they'll change and all that. So I believe in micro actions. That goes a long way with the domino effect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually a lot of times the conversations are actually with one-on-one are the hardest things and the scariest things. Going to a demonstration, you're surrounded by people who think like you, signing a letter, you're there just quietly by yourself. But sometimes those conversations with someone and that goes for any issue like racism or anything like that, those can be hard.
Yeah, I mean, tell my dad. I don't think I'm invited anymore in Christmas. No, he's. I think he is proud, but my dad and I talk a lot about these kind of topics, and there's a lot of back and forward. And sometimes it's not about being confrontational. I am quite confrontational, depending on who, but sometimes I choose not to. Sometimes I just point something out very politely. Like, look, I'm not comfortable around this joke, or, I am going to have to disagree with this, and studies point out this, but if you're interested, I can send you a link to this article and you can read a little bit more about it, because it shocked me too. So sometimes it can be even small things. I have a friend that makes me laugh. She asks me sometimes to reply to her WhatsApp groups. Oh my God, I got this message, Virginia, write me something because I want to say something. And I'm like, guys, oh, wow. I know what you mean. So sometimes I get that. I offer that services to friends to reply your friends.
That's a great service.
He's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just replying to Lucia's works WhatsApp groups. Like, why? It's like, because it's important that we pass this message and they need to know. Or can you send me some article about it? It's like, yeah, on it. So yeah, I do think that sometimes just that one statistic that is mind-blowing can completely, shut up a conversation. Like, okay, like, that is 5 times more study erectile dysfunction than gynecologist OB problems for women. Yeah. Like 5 times more. This, I mean, that's how much women matter. Like, men having heart is 5 times more important than women being healthy. So just, you can't really fight that. I mean, if that is not an example of the society failing, you tell me.
There's another instance where I went my whole life knowing something, but until someone pointed it out, I didn't realize what was going on. My whole life seeing doctors, you know, not being believed or being treated poorly or having crass comments made while they're examining me, et cetera, et cetera. It was just par for the course, right? And now, if a doctor said or did anything like that, I would be like, oh, what are you doing? Because that is not right. Because, you know, now it's different. It's been pointed out. No, they shouldn't be saying that. And yes, they should believe you. My husband and I watched John Oliver on HBO, and he did a whole episode or half an episode about how women are treated in the medical community, and especially how Black women are treated in the community, which is worse than white women, of course.
That's everything.
And it was interesting because just one of the things they brought up was in a medical journal that was being used by med students for uterine cancer. They did not actually study, examine, talk to any women for it. It was all extrapolated from men who had cancer. Not a single woman was used in the study or research. And the book was from the 1990s.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, I was like, what? It's so mind-blowing. So just like you said, 5 times the research for erectile dysfunction compared to like menopause or anything else. Yeah.
And I was like, I've rest my case. It's like, and that's all I'm gonna say. Mic drop. Bye. Like it's just that you need to. I don't know if you have, but you need to read Invisible Woman. Like it is really. It's one of those books that you're like reading and being very upset and being like, wow, oh wow, no, not on my watch.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You know the ones that you really. Chris watched me reading and say, "You're so funny." Like your face is changing so much, and I'm like stopping. Like, guess what? It's like I'm gonna read it too. It's like, Virginia, don't tell me every paragraph of the book. I'm planning to read it. You need to listen to this. So yeah, it's just it is upsetting that is so real. But there's also a lot of great things, as you said, like. It is also very exciting to be alive in these times when so much is happening.
Yes.
And feel like I'll tell my kids things and they won't believe me. You know, I'll tell them things like, oh, this used to happen. And they'll be like, Mom, that's absurd. I cannot believe that this happened to you. And that will be such a refreshing experience that to them, that is just not conceivable.
Right.
So that's, I think there's going to be some of that. I think it's very hopeful. And I think it's very exciting to see all the changes and all the micro revolutions that are happening in every single part. Yes. Everywhere I look, I see like how feminist is affecting every single area. So it's medicine, it's education, it's politics, it's, the TVs. I mean, the TV is amazing nowadays. There's so many amazing TV programs. The books, it seems that it's like a virus is getting everywhere. That's one, that it's good, that it's pandemic, it's global, it's getting everywhere. And I think that is so beautiful. I think, and we're witnessing it and we're part of it. Yeah.
It's historical. It's almost too much to think about while we're in the moment, like how this is changing our history, changing our future. I mean, and how historical it will be. Every once in a while, I'll say to my kids, like, you're going to be telling your kids and your grandkids about this. Whatever.
and we have to thank a lot of people, obviously, behind it. But Clementine, I went to see her presentation in Belfast once, and she said, probably in a more eloquent way, but that we're part of a big puzzle, and we are the same feminists. It's the same journey that suffragists went, and then it came to the next ones and the next one, and we're all linked, and we're all just picking up where they left it and bringing to the next, and none of us will see the end of it. We were part of that big change, a big, that started ages ago and will take a lot of time, but we all matter, and we all need to do our best to pass it as far as possible to the next ones. And I thought that was really, really empowering.
Very. Oh, that's wonderful. And I think that's a great place for us to wrap up our incredible
Yay.
interview, because quite frankly, Virginia, I could talk
We
to
could
you
talk forever.
subject. But I want people to know that they can go to thefeministshop.com and find the books that you've talked about, find excellent apparel that they know have been ethically sourced and sewed and made. And if you go to plussizenerd.com/thefeministshop, that is my affiliate link, and use the code +size_nerd, you'll get 10% off your order.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, this was great. And I love your website. And like I said, I love that it's a beacon and a place that people can go and find the information they need, like you said, to take action.
Brilliant. Thanks a million.